Tucker platforming Fuentes, though, I think it's a tipping point. And I never really understood what the term woke right meant, but this is what it means. It means, does the right, does conservatives, this is mainly an American issue, but it's splashing over in the UK and in Europe and in Canada too. This is what woke right means. Is the conservative movement, is the Republican Party in the United States, is Canada's conservative movement, will it abide our version of the crazies on the left? What I mean is, on the left, the Democrats, and a lot of Democrats are normal people. I mean, they do get almost 50% of the vote. There's a lot of people who are normal there, but the Democrats have succumbed to the most radical elements within them. The Ilhan Omars, the Zoran Mamdanis, the green-haired transgender activists, the Black Lives Matter movement. The Democrats have given the power and the energy in their party to the woke extremists. And I think it's an important reason why Democrats are losing. They're so out of bounds when it comes to normal issues for Americans. Will the Republicans do the same thing? Will they say, we have to accept this, no enemies to the right? But like I say, how are Fuentes and Tucker and their mini-me's, they're people like Candace Owens, again, a former Democrat who says she hates Trump. How are they conservatives? Why would non-conservatives who have said they hate Trump, why would they even be in the conservative movement of the Republican Party? Now, I did a bit of a tour last month, you might remember, talking to some people who were getting swept up in this anti-Israel extremism, which I think splashes over into anti-Semitism. I found that, and I'm grateful to the people who debated with me, but I found that in general, they were low information. They had shallow knowledge. They had read something on TikTok or Wikipedia and suddenly became experts in the Middle East and the Jews and Arabia and things like that. And so they would have these mantras, these one-liners that they would keep repeating back to each other, but there was no depth to it. Of course not. These people just, this is the right's version of the latest thing. We always criticize the left for being, well, what's the latest thing? Okay, today you care about Ukraine. Tomorrow you care about Gaza. Then you care about Greta Thunberg and green. Like, we sort of mock the left for just being faddish. This is the latest madness on the right. It's a mania, it's hysteria. Is it for the clicks? Is it for the traffic? Is it for the fake sense of being taboo? And that's the irony for people who say the Jews control the media. Well, the media certainly is just serving up an enormous helping of anti-Semitism from Tucker and Fuentes. Is it the money? I think that's part of it. Is it just the exhilarating feeling of hating someone? It can be exhilarating. It's a different hatred than other groups, though. As I mentioned the other day, Haviv Redigur said, anti-Semitism is a special kind of hatred because the Jews aren't just responsible for this one thing or that one thing. They are this cosmic barrier to heaven. If we could just get rid of the Jews, things would be perfect. I talked to some folks in Ireland. I generally don't raise Jewish issues when I'm in Ireland. It's not why I'm there, but for some reason, a country with 0.05% Jews, like there's only 2,000 Jews in the whole country of Ireland. It's 1/2 of 1/10 of 1%. And there are some people in Ireland, typically on the left, who are so anti-Jewish. And I'm just thinking to myself, there hasn't been a Jew in the Irish Parliament in more than a decade. There's only been a handful over the course of time. It's not your universal scapegoat. And if you finally do triumph over the Jews, it's not going to suddenly there's this belief, I think anti-Semites in many cases have decided the Jews are such a cosmic, demonic, supernatural force that to get rid of them would instantly fix every problem, and every problem could be ascribed to them. Certainly they won't shut up about the Jews. It's really crazy to me. Anyways, yesterday things came to a head when Heritage Foundation, one of the largest conservative foundations in America that historically has been very pro-Israel, by the way, and very anti-Semitic, the head of Heritage put out a video, apropos of nothing. I don't know why he felt compelled to do it, standing by Tucker Carlson and saying he always will, no matter what, and those who are against Tucker are venomous and globalists. Here, it's actually not that long. Let me play the whole thing for you. It just came out of the blue. Take a look.
I'll have more to say on this in the coming days, but today I want to be clear about one thing. Christians can critique the state of Israel without being anti-Semitic. And of course, anti-Semitism should be condemned. My loyalty as a Christian and as an American is to Christ first and to America always. When it serves the interests of the United States to cooperate with Israel and other allies, we should do so, with partnerships on security, intelligence, and technology. But when it doesn't, conservatives should feel no obligation to reflexively support any foreign government, no matter how loud the pressure becomes from the globalist class or from their mouthpieces in Washington. The Heritage Foundation didn't become the intellectual backbone of the conservative movement by canceling our own people or policing the consciences of Christians. And we won't start doing that now. We don't take direction from comments on X, though we are grateful for the robust free speech debate. We also don't take direction from members or donors, though we are inherently grateful for their support. And we're adding more every day. This is the robust debate we invite with our colleagues, our movement friends, our members, and the American public. We will always defend truth. We will always defend America, and we will always defend our friends against the slander of bad actors who serve someone else's agenda. That includes Tucker Carlson, who remains, and as I have said before, always will be a close friend of the Heritage Foundation. The venomous coalition attacking him are sowing division. Their attempt to cancel him will fail. Most importantly, the American people expect us to be focusing on our political adversaries on the left, not attacking our friends on the right. I disagree with, and even abhor, things that Nick Fuentes says. But canceling him is not the answer either. When we disagree with a person's thoughts and opinions, we challenge those ideas in debate. And we have seen success in this approach as we continue to dismantle the vile ideas of the left. As my friend Vice President Vance said last night, what I am not okay with is any country coming before the interest of American citizens, and it is important for all of us, assuming we are American citizens, to put the interest of our own country first. That's where our allegiance lies, and that's where it will stay.
Now, I like loyalty. I try and show loyalty, and I think it's a very important personal trait. But are you truly loyal to someone no matter what they think and say? You may know that I was once pretty close friends with Jason Kenney. In fact, I'd say he was one of my best friends. I haven't had a word to say to the guy in 3 years. And that pains me. But because as Premier of Alberta, I mean, he was one of my best buddies. We would talk frequently. He led a vicious crackdown on the province, including on churches, on the truckers at Coots. He brought in painful COVID mandates. I was shocked by it. And we had to speak out and we had to criticize it. And frankly, it's painful to lose a friend. But if you're in the opinion business and the commentary and the news business and the activism business like we are, we just have to speak the truth. Can you truly say we will always stand by Tucker Carlson? Really? Even if he platforms people who are Nazis and Stalinists and people who say that Hitler was better than Churchill, will you really, on behalf of the Heritage Foundation, which is millions of donors and decades of work, will you really always stand by him no matter what he says? Because he's changing wicked fast. Now, the answer is debate and being collegial, says the head of Heritage, but except for those venomous Jews and Christian Zionists, I guess. I mean, who was he blaming? Who is he blaming when he said that Tucker was under attack? And why did he feel that he had to stand up for Tucker? I thought it was quite odd. Now, some Heritage Foundation staff and others in the Heritage orbit, it's a huge organization, Heritage. I haven't looked it up, but it's got to be tens of millions, probably $100 million a year in conservative donors working on everything from justice files to education to foreign affairs. And by the way, they're quite pro-Israel over there. So this came out of the blue. Some Heritage staff started to rebel in a particular way. Here's Preston Brashers, who made this tweet, which I thought was perfect. It showed free speech. That's an iconic painting of free speech. But that were against Nazis. And I'm worried that Preston Brashers is going to be fired. There's got to be a huge battle behind the scenes at Heritage right now, because for such a flagship conservative project to endorse Tucker's interview with Nick Fuentes is just startling. I mean, is it true, no enemies to the right? Is it true that we have to abide outright haters? Put aside the Jewish thing. I mean, I'm Jewish, so perhaps I'm conflicted. Let's say that there was a huge movement on the right that was anti-black or anti-Asian or anti-Quaker or anti-Mormon or something. Would I have to abide it to be a good conservative? I just don't think I could. I don't think I would. I mean, put aside the morality of it. You're literally giving ammunition to your critics. Just think practically for a minute. Conservatives are always accused of being Nazis and racists. Even I'm Jewish. I'm accused of being a Nazi all the time by the left. Obviously, it's not true. It's just a trick to put us on the back foot and be defensive. Imagine accepting crazy Nazis and Nazi enablers. You're handing ammunition to the liberals, to the Democrats, to the left. All those things we always told you about conservatives, well, they're true. They accept these crazy Nazis. I don't know why the boss of Heritage is going this way. I could understand why a youth movement, Turning Point USA, very college-oriented, because the kids are following this on TikTok and they don't have a strong history or they don't have good moorings. Like, there's no boomers or Gen Xers supporting this stuff. It's kids. So I don't understand why an organization made up of boomers and seniors, funded by boomers and seniors, would try and get a piece of the Nick Fuentes action. It's really crazy to me. The racism is astonishing, and none of it was brought up by Tucker Carlson. Here's Nick Fuentes doing a little rant on JD Vance and Gavin Newsom as the potential lineup for the 2028 U.S. presidential race. Take a look at this, comparing the race of the two families.
So this is the image of Gavin Newsom, and we'll zoom in on it so you can get a better look. This is Gavin Newsom's family. Okay? Now, this is who the Republicans want you to think is literally the devil. Okay, this guy is Satan. This guy is evil. This guy is woke. He is a left-wing socialist Muslim. He's a radical Muslim socialist like Barack Obama. But, right off the bat, we could just make some observations. He's white. He's tall. He's handsome. His wife is also white. She's tall. She's good looking. His children, 4 of them, are beautiful, and they're all white with blue eyes and blonde hair. And they're in California. Or maybe this is Hawaii? I don't know. But they're in a beautiful state, our beautiful land. Their beautiful blood and our beautiful land in America. If only there was some way to combine those things. Their beautiful genetics, their genes. Weren't Republicans just talking about that? Beautiful genes. Look at these beautiful genes. It's really a sight to behold. This is our enemy, they say. Now, here's the other image. This is our fearless leader, the entity known as JD Vance. The entity known as JD Hamill, since the last operating system update, is now JD Vance. This is his family. Now, let's make some observations here. So this is our fearless leader, the entity known as JD Vance. He's fat. Okay, he's visibly, we'll just zoom in here just so you could get a better look. He's visibly obese and very ugly. He's got a fat face, no jawline, no chin, and he's quite ugly. He had to grow a beard because his face was so ugly. The Ozempic didn't even help. Let's make some other observations. His wife and kids are not white, okay? A lot of people debate whether I'm white. People say, if your last name's Fuentes, are you white? Well, maybe I am, maybe I'm not. I know this is definitely not white, okay? Brown skin, black hair, Hindic phenotype. This is an Indian woman, as a matter of fact. She is from the subcontinent of India. Her parents are Indian. They're actually from India. She's first generation.
Yeah, like I say, Nick Fuentes is no conservative. He's no Republican, and he hates Jews a lot, but he hates others too. Now, that video was on my mind because I saw that. And it was on my mind when I saw this question and answer put to JD Vance at a Turning Point USA event. Just take a look. We won't play the whole thing, but here's, actually, I think we will play the whole thing. Here, take a look.
And yes, my wife did not grow up Christian. I think it's fair to say that she grew up in a Hindu family, but not a particularly religious family in either direction. In fact, when I met my wife, we were both, I would consider myself an agnostic or an atheist, and that's what I think she would have considered herself as well. You know, everybody has to come to their own arrangement here. The way that we've come to our arrangement is she's my best friend. We talk to each other about this stuff. So we decided to raise our kids Christian. Our two oldest kids who go to school, they go to a Christian school. Our 8-year-old did his first communion about a year ago. That's the way that we have come to our arrangement. But thank you. My 8-year-old was also very proud of his first communion. Thank you, guys. I'll tell him that Ole Miss wishes him the best. But I think everybody has to have this own conversation when you're in a marriage. I mean, it's true for friends of mine who are in Protestant and Catholic marriages, friends of mine who are in, atheist and Christian marriages. You just got to talk to the only advice I can give is you just got to talk to the person that God has put you with, and you've got to make those decisions as a family unit. For us, it works out. Now, most Sundays, Usha will come with me to church. As I've told her and I've said publicly, and I'll say now in front of 10,000 of my closest friends, do I hope eventually that she is somehow moved by the same thing that I was moved in by church? Yeah, I honestly do wish that, because I believe in the Christian gospel, and I hope eventually my wife comes to see it the same way. But if she doesn't, then God says everybody has free will. And so that doesn't cause a problem for me. That's something you work out with your friends, with your family, with the person that you love. Again, one of the most important Christian principles is that you respect free will. Usha's closer to the priests who baptized me than maybe I am. They talk about this stuff. My attitude is you figure this stuff out as a family, and you trust in God to have a plan, and you try to follow it as best as you can. And that's what I try to do.
Now, I tweeted that I thought JD Vance was throwing his wife's religion under the bus to appease the Nick Fuentes wing, because there was a mass of anti-Semitic and anti-Israel questions that always show up at the Turning Point USA. The Fuentes people try to invade. And I thought that by publicly talking about his wife and how he preferred it if she would become a Christian, I guess I'm just not used to personal family discussions like I want my wife to become Christian. That seems like a strange thing to me to talk about in public. That feels like a conversation maybe you have in private with your wife. And I thought airing it, I thought it was, I guess maybe I was oversampling the Fuentes BS. So I thought it was a way that JD Vance was repelling that attack. And to my surprise, JD Vance replied to me, to my tweet. He said he was disgusted with my comment and thought it smacked of anti-Christian bigotry. And I wrote back to the vice president saying I accepted his explanation that this was how he does his Christianity. He's always trying to move people over. Okay, I accept that. But not his implication that perhaps I'm anti-Christian. But I did ask him a few more questions while we were talking, like, does he think Tucker is anti-Christian? You saw Tucker smear conservative Christians. And why did he let this question go unchallenged? Here's another question that was put to him.
Ethnic cleansing in Gaza. I'm just confused why this idea has come around, considering the fact that not only does their religion not agree with ours, but also openly supports the prosecution of ours.
Yeah, so let's say a few things about this. First of all, when the President of the United States says America first, that means that he pursues the interests of Americans first. That is our entire foreign policy. And that doesn't mean that you're not going to have alliances, that you're not going to work with other countries from time to time. And that is what the president believes, is that Israel, sometimes they have similar interests to the United States and we're going to work with them in that case. Sometimes they don't have similar interests to the United States. And this example, the most recent Gaza peace plan that all of us have been working on very hard for the past few weeks, the president of the United States could only get that peace deal done by actually being willing to apply leverage to the state of Israel. So when people say that Israel is somehow manipulating or controlling the president of the United States, they're not controlling this president of the United States, which is one of the reasons why we'd be able to have some of the success that we've had in the Middle East. Now,
Is it true that Israel and Jews persecute Christians? I've been to Israel and I've been to Iraq and I've been to the United Emirates and I've seen other countries that I haven't been to. I know that Egypt is a place where Coptic Christians are killed by Islamic terrorists all the time. I know that Christians have been purged from Lebanon and from Iraq. I've been to Bethlehem and I've seen how the tiny Christian community is being pressured by the Muslim majority. Israel is actually the only country in the Middle East where Christians have their full rights. Hopefully, the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain are slowly moving in that direction too. But to accuse the Jews of persecuting Christians is something that I think in his day, Charlie Kirk would have swatted down. But JD Vance just sort of accepted the premise of the question and said that no one controls this president, implying that maybe other presidents have been controlled by Israel, and saying that he wants Israel to protect access to Christian sites like the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Yeah, Israel does. I just found it so weird that JD Vance did not rebut or counter or even just put on the record that he disagreed with any of those things. Charlie Kirk would have smashed those questions. I don't know, maybe it's asking too much for the Vice President of the United States to fact check people at a town hall, but he did sign up for that project. So I put to JD Vance 3 questions, given that I had his attention. I said, do you think Jews or Judaism do persecute Christians? Do you think Israel is a threat to Christianity in the Middle East? I mean, we all remember those horrific ISIS pictures of them beheading the Coptic Christians in Egypt. Do you really think Israel controlled other U.S. presidents like Barack Obama, maybe, like Joe Biden? Like which ones? And I wrote, P.S. I'm a fan, probably the biggest Trump supporter in Canada, not an easy thing to be. I said, I like your style too, I do, but I say, you say I've misinterpreted your comments about your family, and I obviously accept your explanation, but I'm hoping I've misinterpreted your other comments too. Looks like you're trying to appease an insatiable racist movement led by a troll who praises both Hitler and Stalin, and who has repeatedly called for opposition to both you and President Trump. Say it ain't so. Anyways, obviously I don't like quarreling with the Trump administration. If I had to score them, I'd give them an 11 out of 10 on literally everything they're doing. They're not just saving America, they're saving the world. Even though it might not feel that way in Canada right now on the tariffs, I believe that Donald Trump and his administration not only are bringing peace to the world, they're bringing prosperity to the world. And in so many ways, there's what's stopping the world from falling into violence and chaos. I mean, imagine a world where America wasn't the key country, but where China was, which is, I think, the alternative. In terms of Jews in Israel, no president has been a better friend to Jews or Israel than Trump, by the way. And no one would have been worse than Kamala Harris. I mean, Zoran Mamdani is the center of the Democrats now. I just find it incredible that so many anti-Jewish activists who claim to be pro-America are either silent on the actual threat posed by Islamism, or like Tucker Carlson, they positively go to bat for Islamists in Qatar. Look, I'm worried about anti-Semitism in the Republican Party because I think it's a corrosive socialist mindset. I think that blaming all the Jews is a way of absolving yourself from responsibility in your own life, and it's collective punishment of an external group. I think it's false. I think Israel and America have been true allies, and I think that when you compare the costs of Israel's friendship with America, it's much lower than the costs of Qatar, where America has a $10 billion a year base, or Turkey, where America has a $10 billion a year base. Do you know that America even stores its nukes in Turkey? There's so many ways that this U.S.-Israel relationship is positive. And I think it's being poisoned in part by funding from Qatar. I do think I overstated the case on JD Vance discussing his wife's religion. And I think he took it personally, which is fair enough. But I really would like to hear his answers on the other questions. Is Tucker Carlson also anti-Christian? Or is that okay? You know, Tucker Carlson's son works for JD Vance. I wonder what that's all about. Does JD Vance really think Israel and the Jewish religion itself persecute Christians? Can you really say that in the Middle East, where ISIS would purge entire Christian towns in Iraq? It's not his job to rebut every conspiracy in the world, but when you agree to take questions at a TPUSA event, you sort of make it your job for an hour. I'm not against JD Vance. I sort of like him, and I think he's strong on freedom of speech. I love watching him talk in places like Europe and Munich and talking to the British Prime Minister about free speech, but I am a bit worried by him. Not by his comment about his wife, which I think I now understand, but about his lack of comments on other things. You tell me, what do you think?